Hi, welcome to Cash Up, a weekly show where we converse with amazing folks in DFIR. And today I'm so excited to be joined by Madi Brumbelow. I often speak about people you know in digital forensics and introduce you to them on this program, but today I want to share with you about folks you should know. Madi is one of those people. Madi is more than just a current student finishing her studies at Champlain College. She's a research assistant for Cyber 5W, a peer career coach, senior help desk technician, and resident advisor for Champlain College, and a research assistant supervisor at the Leahy Center. They've completed an internship as a global technology summer analyst at the Bank of America, where she's accepted a position full-time after graduation as a global technology analyst. Their previous internships include a support term intern at Capgemini in Shanghai City in China, and as a technical intern at the Leahy Center. In addition to their studies at Champlain College in the BS in Computer and Digital Forensics Bachelor of Science program with a specialization in both cybersecurity and threats and mitigation, and a minor in global studies, graduating in just 2 weeks on May 15th, Madi studied abroad at the East China Normal University and earned her Associate of Arts in Information Technology Fundamentals from Central Piedmont Community College. Madi's work has been recognized as a Grace Hopper Celebration GHC Scholar in 2019. Their drive to use her technical skills to better the world is incredible. Not only is Madi the current president of Champlain Digital Forensics Association and an active member of the Women in Technology Club at Champlain College, she also gives back as the current tech operations lead of TechDRN, a charity that provides access to technology for all, as far-reaching as children in Zanzibar, Tanzania. I feel so fortunate to have had the opportunity to work with Madi this year on the MVS 2021 CTF. Upon meeting with her weekly to plan and write this year's challenge, I was enthralled with their excitement and passion. We found common ground in Chromebook forensic research, and I reached out to her for her feedback and testing and even roped her into a DFIR review in an area where she was already working because she's been studying and researching extensively. It's been a pleasure to get to work with Madi, along with all the rest of the MVS 2021 CTF team at Champlain. And I can't wait to see what Madi contributes to our field after graduation. And with that, hi, Madi.
Hi, Jessica. Thanks for the intro.
Are you ready to not be a student anymore?
I don't know about that, but senior year was quite interesting being with COVID and everything. So I'm not sure how ready I am, but I got the full-time job at least lined up, so I'm ready as you can be.
I'm gonna give one little teaser to those people who are watching this. Madi is one of the co-authors of the MVS 2021 CTF, along with Dylan Navarro and Jordan Kimball, and the four of us have been working on this, and so we know that we cannot have this conversation without dropping hints. So we've just accepted this and consider everything in this conversation. Even right now, when we're talking about COVID restrictions in senior year as possible CTF hints, I'm not going to mention it again. So just accept that everything in our conversation probably unintentionally relates to the CTF. Sorry for that little stall intro, but it's you guys don't know it yet, but she already said stuff in the CTF. It's true. All right. So getting back to our chat here, what made you interested in DFIR? It's so exciting to have someone who has recently started and come into the field, but came in through a traditional route. Anybody who's listened to this show has heard tons of stories of people who've been in the field forever who have had less traditional routes into DFIR. What made you interested in studying this?
I definitely explored a lot of different career paths in high school. And for a while, I wanted to be a forensics photographer. And then I realized, or just someone in actual forensics. And then
blood and guts forensics.
Yeah, exactly. And then I realized I had to do a master's degree and major in chemistry at first. And I wasn't very good at chemistry. So I was and then I was exploring computer engineering, and I wasn't really good at physics either. So then I figured out computer forensics was a thing just by scrolling through, not scrolling through, that's how into computers I am now. I was flipping through a book of college majors that my high school counselor had, and I came across computer forensics, and like George Mason was listed, Embry-Riddle was listed, and then Champlain was listed. So.
And George Mason does not have an undergraduate program in digital forensics. So for everyone's disclosure, I kind of cheered because I teach at GMU in their master's program. So those were the 3 schools that were listed. I've got to tell you, it's intriguing to me. It's exciting to me to hear that digital forensics as a profession is now in the books that guidance counselors have in their offices. And I assume that was 5 years ago or more. And so that's really exciting to me.
It was listed as computer forensics at the time, but yes, and I think a lot of colleges have definitely like merged it with cybersecurity programs since then. But yeah, that's how I initially just like found out it was there. My audio just cut out, or can you can you hear me? Because I can. Okay, I cannot hear you. It is. I think it might be on your end. I am. Okay.
Hey everyone, sorry about that. I don't know what happened, but leaving the call and coming back in fixed it. So, turn it off and turn it back on again. Typical way of doing things. So we were just talking about what made you decide to pick Champlain of all of these things. I was saying how exciting to me it was that digital or computer forensics at the time was even listed in this book. So you're like, oh, hey, this is something I can do. Why did you pick Champlain?
I'm pretty sure I found Champlain. It was either listed in that book or I was randomly Googling computer forensic schools and I found it on the internet and it was free to apply, so I applied. I was deciding between George Mason, Champlain, and Embry-Riddle Aeronautical in Prescott, Arizona. And it really, which they weren't digital forensics, Embry-Riddle, it was cybersecurity or global intelligence and security. But then Champlain, when I visited, I really just fell in love with Burlington, and I really liked the setup of the college, even though it was a bit more challenging for me as a transfer student to get my credits in, but it was, and they gave me the most scholarships, so that helped also. But yeah, Champlain was, I'm glad I picked it. I think it was the best choice. At least for undergrad. Won't speak to George Mason's master's program yet.
George Mason's master's program is incredible, just saying. Except that mobile device forensics instructor, she's a little crazy, and she makes her students do a lot of work. And she has to grade. She has to spend this weekend grading their projects and their research. So what kind of there are a bunch of people who go to Champlain, and Champlain does offer both an in-seat and this isn't an ad for Champlain. I'm just curious what your thoughts are on the difference between the in-seat bachelor's program and the remote bachelor's program, and what may be the advantages or disadvantages to both. and how that worked in COVID. I'd love to know a little bit about how the school reacted to COVID.
Yeah, of course. So I can't speak too much to the online program just because I have not taken the classes. I know you've taught in it, but I will say, like, it was definitely.
I taught in the graduate program.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's definitely a lot of hands-on stuff. Like, they try to not just hands-on, like sitting at a computer doing labs, even though we do that. But I think in one of my first forensics classes, I was handed a write blocker and a hard drive to take apart and connect to it, which was always very interesting in like creating USB boot disks and all of that jazz. But I think it was definitely like a bit, I don't know what they're doing for those classes with COVID, but pretty much everything was as normal. The professors just shifted online. You've had both my professors that I've of digital forensics on this show before, Yogesh Khatri and Ali Hadi. So
amazing folks.
Yeah, they're both very good at, we're probably just blessed being in a technology program versus the rest of the school with switching on to the remote hybrid deal. But yeah, Champlain let some students come back. It was kind of like based on, it was like first years, then like transfer students and international students, and then seniors. And then there's like a lottery for everyone else. And
oh, wow.
Yeah, so the people on campus, if their classes are hybrid, they can go in person sometimes. But all the things are streamed online, no matter what.
Any quarantine rules or anything weird restrictions since you're there?
We get tested weekly, and if you're on campus, you have to be wearing a mask.
Are you allowed to leave?
Campus, campus into the Burlington area, yes. Not when we first got there. We did have to quarantine for 2 weeks. But yeah, it's definitely cross-state travel is not, you have to tell the school if you do that and then quarantine when you get back.
Oh, yeah, that's pretty interesting, especially with the school being on a border. So.
Yeah.
So, I want to take some time to talk about this really cool charity. It's one of the things that like blew me away. Actually, we should go back a moment. So you're also have worked at the Leahy Center and at the Digital Forensics Association. And in my estimation, based on I've hired students straight out of Champlain in my career. I've worked with a lot of Champlain graduates. I've done research with Champlain graduates. There are so many great programs out there, by the way. I love a lot of the schools out there. Great students come out of Marshall. Great students come out of Bloomsburg. There's so many great programs with incredible instructors. I just want to be clear that we're talking about Champlain because this is where Maddie is. And I've been fortunate the last 2 years to work with the Digital Forensics Association for the creation of the MVS CTF. So I tend to think that the value that Champlain brings is those opportunities for students, if they choose to take them, to go beyond just the classroom and to participate in the Digital Forensics Association and potentially work at the Leahy Center. Can you talk a little bit about what those are, since you've had the opportunity to do both?
Yes. So the Leahy Center for Digital Forensics and Cybersecurity it's like Champlain, within Champlain, but it's also its own separate organization. And every level of student has the opportunity to work there. So my first semester, I was able to get an internship there for class credit and work on a project where I started using industry tools. It was we were comparing like autopsy versus NCASE versus Axiom versus FTK on a set of data and everything. And we wrote a report and published about it. So from the first semester, we were already like doing research. Now I work there as a supervisor for the NW3C Windows team. So we're doing contract work for the National White Collar. Yes.
This is really cool. So NWC3 is actually going to be at the MVS Mentorship Day in the career fair. So if people are looking for adjunct professor positions who may be listening, who are in forensics, I know that they are hiring for some of those as part of the virtual career fair.
That's good to know. But yeah, they I can't really talk about exactly what we do, but on
Absolutely.
that team. But yeah, it's very interesting work, and there's people who work on, we have like clients that people like work with, like and do services for, and like actual real, you have an opportunity to do actual real work cases. Yes. And then Digital Forensics Association is a club, one of the ITS division clubs. We work closely with the Cybersecurity Club as well, usually to create CTFs. And we also do we basically have educational nights for subjects that we don't really learn in class. So this past semester, we talked about RFID forensics, we talked about Chromebook forensics, AWS and Docker forensics, stuff like that, which I think Docker, Yogesh is starting to weave into the curriculum. But yeah, we've done memory forensics in the past. We bring in guest speakers. Asif Matadar is a very common face in our, not face because we just hear his voice, but he guest lectures a lot. So it's just a good opportunity to get more involved in the field.
And I loved it because then when we first started meeting, you were actually working on a Chromebook forensics presentation. I've been doing a lot of stuff in Chromebooks, and that's how I roped you into a DFIR review of some Chromebook stuff and some testing of some tools. And we were definitely talking about data locations and everything else. So and I was learning from you, and I want to stress that too, that research can be done by everyone, and that students, if you're in an organization and you have an opportunity to do internships and work with students and work with our future, it is just a fantastic opportunity. Like, I just feel so privileged to get to work with you guys on the CTF, and that the DFA has done this for the last 2 years. It's just been pure joy in creating these challenges. So let's talk about Tectron. We'll come back and talk about CDF later. So we are talking, right? And like, you and I were just talking about stuff related to the CTF. And I forget where it came up. I forget how we even started talking about Tectron, but you started like telling me about this, and it like blew my mind because it is such an amazingly valuable concept and organization, and just how well it's run and what you guys are doing. Would you mind sharing with everyone what Tectron is?
Yeah, so Tectron, which it stands for Technology for Children. So our goal is to provide technology to promote hands-on learning to further education. So we basically take in used tech from a variety of different sources. Companies contact us, or we reach out to them. Individuals will reach out with stuff that they have, and we refurbish it and repurpose it. And based on the community that we're donating it to, we personalize what's on it. And then we give it to the different communities. So like you mentioned in my intro, we work closely with 2 primary schools in Zanzibar. And then since COVID, since we haven't been able to get back there, we've been expanding more locally into the Burlington community, working with the Burlington Girls and Boys Club and other organizations locally to provide laptops.
And so important now, as so many children went into virtual learning, the timing of you guys being able to pivot like that is incredible. How did this all start?
So it started based on a Champlain College core class, or less based on, so core is basically the general education of Champlain. They usually like cross-curriculum classes. They're like fun topics. So I believe this class was about Islam and Dar es Salaam, which is the capital of Tanzania. And at the end of the course, they got to visit Tanzania and Zanzibar, which is the archipelago off the east coast of Tanzania. And as part of this trip, they visited Pemba, which is one of the islands in Zanzibar, and visited 2 primary schools, which was Ole and Kangagani primary schools. And they just met with students and the teachers and the I always want to say prime minister, headmaster. I don't know why I get those 2 mixed up. And talked about with these girls and boys, like what they wanted to be when they grew up. And these 3 students were really like, just struck a chord with them, that these kids had the same dreams that they did. Like, they wanted to be professionals in IT and scientists and astronauts and engineers. So they met with the headmaster and were asking like what sort of resources the school was looking for. And the headmaster said laptops. And they were like, I think we can do that. So they came back. When they got back to the United States, they formed a nonprofit, and it's like a federally recognized nonprofit and everything. And then shortly after, that's when I joined. They formed the summer before I came to Champlain. And then since then, we have brought over 65 different devices to Zanzibar, to these schools that they asked for. And whether that we brought over Windows tablets, and we've also repurposed these MacBooks that we got donated from a local middle school. They're 2012 MacBooks, but when you put Linux on them, they run like a dream. So
So that's great because you're also able to refurbish machines that would otherwise be going to waste because they're getting refreshes. And what an amazing idea. I don't know if there are companies out there that are doing refreshes of their hardware or other school systems, but if you are, Tektron is getting that tech to children who need it. And they've been operating for four or 5 years now. And that's just incredible, and I just love that. I think it's such a beautiful organization, and if anybody's interested in supporting, the link is in the chat, or if you know of those in need or those who can donate tech. I love the fact that you also get to use a little bit of your digital forensics skill set there in repurposing those laptops and ensuring that there isn't data spillage from the previous owners to the students and children who are getting access. So just brilliant. And I love how you were able to flip the mission when you can no longer do that travel and sending things overseas to helping support the local communities back here in the States. So just beautiful. All right, let's chat about the CTF. So you've been building quite a few CTFs.
Yes. I've been a part of, I think like 3 different ones over the past like 2 years as part of DFA. So,
what do you like about building them?
Well, I definitely like participating in them. So just like knowing what I'm
so
like, knowing what I like to see in one helps definitely when like generating data. But it's kind of fun to like become a different person and like get to like, you know, explore stuff on a computer that you normally wouldn't. And you know, from the outside standpoint, like doing what a normal user would do on a computer.
Except writing down every single thing you do 1 minute apart as you're doing it.
Oh yeah. That's the fun part, of course. But
so I will say that's like my rule for data generation is that you should always do things 1 minute apart and make sure you write everything down. But writing the script is fun. I'd say one of the things I really like is finding out what doesn't work that you built in that you intended to happen in the CTF. And then when you go there, the data isn't there or isn't how you expect it to be, or it left a different footprint. And that's always kind of fun. So what do you hope that from the thinking just about what we built for the MVS 2021 CTF, what are you hoping that participants will gain?
I mean, I hope they'll gain, I don't know, a little bit of that struggle we had with the artifacts that were supposed to be there that weren't. I mean, the devices that we used were not Windows, were not Android. They're, you know, some people have probably worked with them before, but others probably have never worked with them before. I kind of like that we have like an even playing field kind of with the devices that we're using. So everyone has the opportunity to really learn a new device and apply that in the future.
I was thinking about some of the things that were several months ago because it takes us months to build these CTFs. And I totally forgot about some of the things where we got rid of methods and devices and methodology that we thought we were going to do. I don't know if you remember that. I'll tell everybody what we were doing that didn't work out because I think we decided that we were going to talk about things that didn't work and give resources and such today, as well as potential hints that have happened throughout this conversation. But we're not going to tell you what evidence is going to be released. Just so everybody knows, the evidence is going to be released next week on Monday. The CTF is on the 12th. Can't wait to make more custom artifacts. Yes! Kevin, I'm so excited about that. Sorry. It's good because these are, I will say that even though we don't have a Windows image in there, we had that the last 3 years. We don't have a memory image. We don't have an Android like we've had the last 2 years. We have different sources of data that are definitely very relevant and things people are seeing on investigations. So I don't want you to think that we just did like weird IoT stuff. We didn't. We picked legitimate real devices that people will see, legitimate acquisition methods that people will see, and just things that are just starting to evolve more because we want people to learn. There are devices in there that you are a little bit more routine. And I guess the 2 warnings I'll give, and tell me if you agree, is A, it's a lot of freaking data. The images, one of the images is very large. So I apologize in advance. You probably need 115 gigs, I think, is the image size of all the images total. Is that about right?
Yeah,
I think it's 115. Right. We have them in a couple of different formats. So if you'd rather pull them down in 7-zip, we'll have them available that way. And we'll also have them available in just regular zip files. So one will have more compression than the other. But if you pull it down in the compression, you have to extract it. So we're trying to be cognizant of both your download time and your resources. And this will all come out in a document on Monday that will have all the instructions to anyone who's registered for the CTF. But we definitely, like in January, AWS released this whole VMs of Macs in AWS. And we were so excited. We're like, we're going to do a Mac image, but we're going to completely do it in an AWS VM, and then we're going to pull the data back. And we were like so psyched. We built it into our whole scenario because there is a whole scenario. And lo and behold, we could image it. But the imaging would have taken like 7 days because we were throttled on our output, even of logical acquisitions that were targeted. So we had to scrap that. But, so there definitely isn't an AWS archived Mac in there, even though we originally planned that. But we learned so much from doing that. And we did get the acquisition working using Axiom Cyber, like out of that container. It was really cool. It was just too slow for us. And so we killed that, right? And so we went through a couple of those exercises. So there's no Windows, there's no memory, there's no Android. So, some things that there's no Linux. So basically, the devices that we use, because I think in the weekly CTF, because we looked at last year's CTF and we wanted to be different. So in the weekly CTF that took place October to December, that Trey and Tara ran, that I helped with, and Ali and Aaron Sparling, was Android, memory, and Linux. So we said, no Android, no memory, no Linux. So that was kind of like our rule. So just so you know, no Android, no memory, no Linux, because we just did that. So we want to be a little bit different. What do you really hope that the players, the people participating in the CTF, like, what do you want them to walk away with?
I don't know, feeling accomplished for finding flags that like not many people have really found before, just because there have not really. One of the devices I don't think I've ever seen in any CTF or challenge online. So, just thinking outside the box, use the internet as a resource to find the locations that you're looking for. And
so that's a good point on location. So I'm gonna mention some resources that might be useful that won't give away anything, but might be useful for you to have on the CTF. So I know Trey and Jamie did a Windows and Mac targeted locations guide. So that has a whole bunch of targeted locations for Windows and Mac. And I previously did a Chromebook locations guide. So Kevin will drop these links in there. And today, right now, we just released 2 more location guides. One that was based off the talk that Chris Vance and I did, that's Android and iOS location. So it basically tells you the artifacts in categories for Android and iOS, so that if your brain is used to Android, and there's no Android on this CTF, you'll know where those locations would be on a physical iOS image. And then the other one is the same thing, comparing an Android to a takeout. So again, if you're really good with your Android forensics and kind of want to know where those similar artifacts are in a takeout, we just released both of those right now. So those are live, and thank you, Kevin, for dropping those links. By the way, I'm talking to Kevin Benny, who's our amazing producer. I see Kevin Pagano is a lot in the chat, so I just wanted to be a little clarity there. And I'm saying that because I don't want anybody to think that Kevin has any inside information, since he's been like one of our CTF champions repeatedly. So I know he's in here trying to get all those goodies. So I would say that those 4 documents are going to be like really critical. And then any other resources you can think of that people should like make sure that they're clear on?
I mean, those magnet forensics guides I know will be very helpful. I know Brett Shaver's, the DFIR training website, always has those great artifacts. I use that a lot. And I think they include at least 1 or 2 of the devices that are going to be on it. Other than that, just... Oh. Do you think of another one?
Yeah. So I've said that every single presentation I was giving this month pertained to the CTF. So yesterday I gave a presentation at NWC3, not NWC3. Oh my gosh, we're talking NCCC, the National Cybercrime Conference. And that was on extracting keychain data from iOS. And I gave that as a tips and tricks in February, the same content, just different expansion. So that might be a good thing to check out, that tips and tricks. Also, on Thursday this week, I'm doing an Ask Me Anything on Chromebook forensics at NCCC. So, that might be kind of cool for people to know about. And even there might be hints in, it takes a while for things to sometimes get out that we write. So I have drafted like my personal nominations for the forensic forecast along with Tara. And there might be some resources in there, like things that I think are worthy of being blog posts of the year or articles of the year that might have some direct techniques you may want to use on the CTF. And so that'll come out sometime this week or next week, I assume. But I definitely am. So the thing is I'm talking about the things I'm doing, right? Like we're trying not to repeat ourselves. So, I mean, like you said, you had done some presentations on Chromebook and some other things. So we try not we try to link our work. So I hope that anyone who's participating in the CTF has appreciated that. But yeah, so the evidence comes out Monday. Isn't that crazy? Like, we've been doing this so long, it's like so exciting that the evidence is coming out next week. And like, yeah, that's insane.
Yeah, hard to believe that, stuff created right here in my box is now going to be distributed to like 700 plus people.
Oh, I didn't give you recent. It's well over 1,000. Yeah, I'll give you in our Thursday meeting the current registration for the CTF, but it's well over 1,000 and global.
That is exciting.
It is exciting. And, it wouldn't be fair for us to be talking about the CTF without giving a shout out to Jordan Kimball at the DFA, who's participated both last year and this year. So I've had the pleasure of getting to work with him 2 years in a row on CTF development. So much fun. And Dylan Navarro. And then we do validate every single thing that we put into the CTF. And so Victor and Haley have been helping us, Victor Griswold and Haley. Oh, I'm forgetting Haley's last name. They both, do you remember Haley's last name?
Yeah, Haley Frio.
Haley Frio, thank you. They've been doing all the validation for us to make sure we know too many of the answers, so we need other folks to validate the questions, and that's just been fantastic. So I've got to say congrats on finishing your bachelor's in digital forensics, and congratulations on landing your first role after graduation, because you are graduating with a job at Bank of America directly in your field. And that's kind of like the dream, right? What is your advice to other students who are looking to break into the field, who are going to school and studying digital forensics, but want to know how to do what you did?
Definitely get involved. I can't stress that enough. Go to conferences, network, um, all of that stuff. I think Jessica, you're frozen for me. I hope I'm not frozen, but uh, I the first year that it was okay. You're unfrozen.
I'm back. I'm sorry.
Yeah, you're fine. I went to Magnet the first year that it was happening, the user summit, and now it's free online, so like there's no reason not to go. I apply for those conference scholarships. I went to the Grace Hopper celebration, and that career fair is actually how I got the internship at Bank of America. Got
Oh, wow.
the no interview slots. I was able to get one after handing out my resume and just networking. And like you getting involved really just sets, as a peer coach, I can speak to this, like getting involved and like even having just club membership at your school, and attending these conferences on there really just puts you a step up from someone who's not doing that. Even if you think someone is smarter than you that isn't getting involved, you're probably going to land that position because you are involved in the community. Because employers really value that. But yeah, definitely get involved. Go to conferences. That's, a really good way to network and get a job. I never really applied for my job. I didn't apply for the internship. It was like final round interview at the conference, got the internship, and then got the job offer from the internship. I never applied to anything, which was very nice senior year, going into not having to apply for jobs all year. But yeah, in places that you least expect it to, everywhere has digital forensics. Like I didn't know the bank had digital forensics. I talked to them at the career fair, and they saw my resume, and one of the people like knew John Rajewski, who was a professor at Champlain and was one of the founding people there, and he like just knew him, and
We're
just
small
like
community. We're a small community.
definitely.
And I think what you just said is really, really key in terms of the fact that forensicators are in every major organization, or every company uses forensics examiners when they have an incident that they consult out, and that the networking and going to conferences is really, really, really key. There are so many conferences coming out, but I do want to bring attention. You mentioned like these career fairs, and people may be wondering, how do I do that in digital forensics when there isn't anything right now happening? And that was a problem that I know I and others at Magnet were really, really concerned about, mainly for folks who are getting into the field, but also those folks who are looking to career switch, or maybe retiring from their government job or their law enforcement job and are ready to break into the corporate sector. So as part of MVS this year, we wanted to provide that opportunity. So we're having a mentorship day. And as part of it is a couple of different things that you were saying, like in this whole fair, like it totally, like Maddie, it's like you were prompting exactly like these same things for students to get involved with, but also career professionals. So as part of mentorship day, there is a virtual career fair. And there are right now 7 employers listed. The ones I can speak to, KPMG, FTI Consulting, Unit 42, which was formerly Crypsys, Tetra Defense, Cyber 5W, where you are a research assistant, and several others. So those are just some of the ones like Cyber Defense Labs, CypherTech, like really big companies. Most of them have many slots, and some of them have both career transition recruiters, like permanent career recruiters, and campus recruiters who are going to be at the event. One of the cool things is because it's on the Magnet Forensics Discord server, you can be anonymous in your initial conversations and then go into a one-on-one channel and disclose who you are. So if you're worried about your peers, knowing that you're looking, that is an opportunity to have that conversation be a little more anonymous while you're walking through the virtual environment. But it's not just a career fair. It's also an organization fair to get involved with organizations, as well as to give back. So like the Oxtera Project will be there. There's talks about giving back with like Play Like a Girl and Cyber Sleuth Labs to build other forensicators. So there's a networking fair, and there's also an EDU fair, an education fair. Champlain will be there, SANS will be there, The magnet training team will be there. There are several schools that will be there in training groups. So if you're looking to further your education or take additional training, you can learn about programs there and visit those virtual booths on the Discord server. And then, like you were saying with the near peer coaching, you can sign up for one-to-one sessions with like amazing folks in digital forensics, maybe including past guests on the show, but people who are well established in the community. And you send in your resume, you say what you want to get out of that session, you get a 30-minute mentoring session and talk about an opportunity to meet people if you're looking to break into the field or build. So I just love every piece of advice you gave for people who are doing that bridge. And it seems like the internship is really, a major part there. And that really it comes down to networking to get them.
Definitely networking. I mean, like the only reason that DFA is involved with Magnet and making this CTF is because of networking of our past, past leadership, like Amanda Johnson, Jonathan Castro, Adam Ferrante, Jack Farley, yeah. Which, I was going to get in, like, you don't even have to have graduated to contribute to the field. Like Jack Farley made a tool for mobile device acquisition for iOS.
Mobile evidence acquisition tool, MEAT, and we used it as part of last year's CTF.
Yeah, and like it's definitely, you can even see on he tweeted about it, and then Alexis Bergoni was like, "I really like this. Can you add this one feature into it?" And Jack did it, and then now it's being used by a federal law enforcement agent. So like you just need to like get yourself out there, and it's not too difficult if you're doing research and communicating and networking.
Because and it's totally true. Like these to me are just as household names, and I'm thinking you've got me in the brain of Champlain College graduates. So I'm thinking of people who have now been in the field a long time, but I'm thinking of people like Preston Farley, Chapin Bryce, who wrote books on doing Python forensics and contributed back to the community and started that work while they were students. And so contributing back to the community, like those of us who are active in the community, we are going to reach out, right? Like, and connected. Like you were at the Magnet User Summit in Nashville, as was Amanda, as was, I think Jack was there. Like so many Champlain students.
Jack presented there, actually.
Jack presented there. Yes, he did. Oh
he presented with Yogesh.
Him and Yogesh gave a talk together on Mac forensics.
Yeah.
So Yogesh, Khatri, and Ali Hadi, and they were competing in the CTF. I remember watching the CTF scores and being like, go Amanda, go beat your instructors, because like Jonathan, Yogesh, John Rajewski, Yogesh, and Ali were playing, and I was watching the scores and watching students beat their instructors as they were going, and it going back and forth and back and forth. And Jonathan wound up being one of the top 3 that year. But yeah, it was just, I don't know, it's so cool, and I just love, and I think you're right. Like it's just about getting involved. Like do it. Yeah,
because they connected with David Cohen, who was just happened to be writing the digital forensics CTF for DEF CON that year, and because of his position was at KPMG, he didn't have time to write it, and
he was doing a role switch, so he had to like pause on things.
Yeah. And then asked DFA to step in and provide a CTF, and we did, and that's kind of where it started with Magnet, and that's just regular students, and
I totally remember, because I remember being at DEF CON and like hanging out with the students from DFA at DEF CON who had contributed to the CTF. I didn't play that year, but I had played the 2 years before and placed, right? Like I love it. And we had brought Dave and Matt in to do the first 2 MVS CTFs. I got to work with them on those after having participated in DEF CON 1. So like the intermingling is incredible. And so speaking of the CTF, David Cowan, speaking of whom, and Brian Moran are going to be providing yet again one-time run. It won't be recorded. Live commentary of the CTF. And if you participated last year, Kevin, I don't know if you have thoughts on what it's like to do a CTF while there's live commentary. You don't necessarily have to listen to it, but the Forensic Lunch will be doing live commentary. And I've got to tell you, as somebody who's listening to our group chat of the CTF crew in the back, right? The Champlain DFA, MVS crew in the back, and listening at the same time to the commentary that's going on, and we're seeing everything on the back end. It is a riot, and Brian always delivers trash talk, trash talk, trash talk, trash talk. But it is so much fun, Kevin. It is so much fun. And yeah, so that is definitely something to look forward to. And even if you don't plan in participating in the CTF, they will have the scoreboard up. They will be talking through and watching people complete challenges and getting access to the questions and seeing who's responding to them. And it is a laugh riot. And I would say the best thing about the CTF are the write-ups afterwards. Like, the write-ups afterwards are incredible. And if you're a student today, let's give that piece of advice. If you're a student today and you're doing digital forensics, play this CTF. Play under a pseudonym. No one needs to know it's you. Play this CTF. Challenge yourself. We've written questions for all, especially Maddie, Dylan, and Jordan, for all different ranges of capabilities and experience. So you will get answers right, and you will get to challenge yourself. And when you play this and you learn from it, one of the greatest things is afterwards, you can blog how you got to your solutions. And if you blog how you got to your solutions and share that, that is something you're giving back to the community. And when a prospective employer looks at you and reads your blog because you give that reference, they understand how you approach a forensics investigation and talk about getting a leg up. There were some fantastic write-ups last year. I'll say, I don't know how to pronounce it correctly, like Siaco Forensics, great write-ups. Kevin Pagano, great write-ups. And you can also learn from those write-ups, especially if you attempted to challenge yourself. So you learn more from the write-up if you attempted the question, got it wrong, and then read 3 different write-ups on how people solved it, and they're all different. Like, that learning is just...
Yeah, and even if you don't think you'll place, you'll probably get higher than you think you will. Like, I don't know how many participants there were last year, but I was like in the top 70, I think, initially on that day. And I hadn't even finished processing the evidence. I wasn't planning on originally doing it. And then I did a last minute and was using just like my laptop with the Axiom trial and got like half of it processed and was able to get enough to like get that high in it, which isn't even that high, but it was That's still excellent. Great.
No, yeah. So let's be honest. I think we had 600 people competing live in the CTF last year. So top 70 is actually really good. You were probably in the top 10%. And as a student, that's awesome. So give yourself some credit there.
I'll pat myself on the back there. But yeah, I had never done I think I did that before. I had done too much with, there's one of the devices there I had not worked with before, and I was able to get quite a bit of the flags with it. So even if you don't think you'll be able to, like, file systems, when it comes down to it, are kind of similar. If you know how to click around and explore, you'd be surprised at what you can find. So
I love that. And speaking of which, because you mentioned it, you will get access to an Axiom trial. And you will get the download link to Axiom. So make sure you get the latest version. But this is not a tool challenge. You can complete this CTF with any tools you want. So whatever's in your tool. I just highly recommend that you process, prepare, and review the evidence before you jump into the CTF. So if you have the time, we are going to release the data next week, either Monday or Tuesday. That and also a little warning about the data. They are large, and you guys with over 1,000 people, our servers for sharing data are going to automatically detect a DDoS and probably limit the number of people. Wait a couple hours and try to download again. It's happened every single time we've released data for CTF, and we'll use multiple links and sharing things, but usually we get a bunch of people hitting a server at the same time to download 115 gigs. So if when you start the download, it doesn't work, give it a couple hours, maybe try the next day. That's the reason we're giving you a week and a half to prep the data. And the CTF is live on Wednesday from 4 to 7 p.m. Eastern Time. I am so sorry to all of our competitors in Asia Pac and Oceania, because I do realize that that's like 4 to 7 a.m. or like 3 to 6 a.m. Our friends in New Zealand, etc. We do want to do it live, and being global, it makes it a little bit hard. I would just say that SUCKS is for everyone. So, except for maybe East Coast people, because they might be able to leave work an hour early. So I do apologize for that. But in addition to people who are competing in the CTF for those 3 hours for the highest score, we do not expect somebody to finish a CTF in those 3 hours. So we will, just like we did last year, give an award to first to finish. And I will say every single year we've done this, with the exception of the live in Nashville, but all of the other ones, we've typically had all the winners live on different continents. So it's really, really cool. And I'm just like so super psyched to see how you guys do. And even more importantly, like I'm super psyched to see how people solve these things. Like I can't wait for the write-ups that come afterwards. Maybe I need to do something for the write-ups that come afterwards. Like maybe we should do a contest about the write-ups. I don't know. I'll think on it. If you guys have ideas in the community, let me know. Maddie, it's just been a pleasure, like working with you on the CTF, nerding out with you, and seeing everything you get to do and all that you give back to both the digital forensics community and the world at large with TechDren. And I can't wait to see what you bring to the future. And just thank you for being a guest today, and all the best of luck in your new position, and congratulations on your graduation.
Thank you so much. It's been a privilege working with you. I've learned so much over the past few months, and I'm excited now to work, in the future with you as I get involved in the community. And maybe next year I'll even compete in the CTF. But I can help make it too if you need. Yeah, it's just been really just awesome. And thanks so much for having me as a guest today. I love listening to Cash Up, so it's really an honor to be on here. So
thank you. Privilege and honor is all mine. So before we go, I just want to mention some upcoming events. This week is the National Cybercrime Conference. As I mentioned, on Thursday I'll be doing book forensics. So if you dig into some of those resources and you have questions, it's a great time to ask and talk about putting yourself in the hot seat. Why did I agree to that? It's going to be fun because I've been spending a lot of time in Chromebooks. KernelCon is coming up this Friday. And I'm really excited for the Hack Live portion, wink, wink, nudge, nudge, which will include a forensics challenge. Watching this challenge just may be worth doing, especially if you're participating in the CTF, because why not watch an industry professional partake in a CTF and answer questions and see how they solve some of those challenges and some of the evidence they may be looking at. So the Magnet Virtual Summit starts next week and runs throughout the month of May. I've actually already had the pleasure of hearing some of the talks and looking at some of the content. It is mind-blowing. There's going to be hands-on labs, incredible industry talks from some of the top people in the field. A CTF? What? With some live commentary? What? The mentorship day I was speaking about, a DFIR Fit Day with a virtual fitness class. That's going to have that Twitter contest from Brian Moran and Catherine Headley. So get your costumes ready. Forensic lunch, and our special 50th episode of Cash Up, which we've spent a lot of effort on making amazing, and I'm so psyched for it. Presentations from Matt Mitchell, Brian Krebs, Brett Shavers. It's going to be incredible. In terms of live events, because live is now a thing. I was actually traveling last week. So in some of our live events might be coming up now. I'll be in person at Techno Security Myrtle Beach speaking about Chromebook forensics. I'll be at the Scientific Working Group on Digital Evidence also in June. So really looking forward on collaborating about standards because I actually am a forensic standards nerd. Next week, we're going to be starting a change to catch up. And starting next week, the episodes will be pre-recorded. This actually directly relates to the fact that travel is resuming. And we wanted to make sure that we still were maintaining the quality of the episodes. Cash Up will be released at the same time it's been, the 11 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube live, and you'll still be able to chat. I'll actually be live in the chat, even though the episode will be recorded. And you can still converse just like today and contribute to the conversation. The reason for switching modes really is due to not just the travel, but wanting to ensure the quality of the feed and the consistency of Cash App. So the goal is to continue to release each episode Tuesday at 11 a.m. Eastern time on YouTube, and then just like today, available via the RSS and podcast services afterwards. Kevin, our fabulous producer who has been here all but 1 week, you could tell which week, that's the week I dropped an F-bomb because I was trying to produce, who has made Cash Up possible. This would not be possible without Kevin. This is like Kevin and I, this is our baby. And so he's going to continue to post the schedule on the website, do all the post-production. He's doing so much work on the 50th episode, which will be incredible. And I'll continue to have great conversations, I promise, with amazing folks in DFIR and InfoSec, bringing unique perspectives and the who behind the forensics work we do. Next week's episode is with the Magnet Forensics VP of Product, Jeff McGillivray, and our CTO and founder, Jad Saliba, which will be actually released immediately after the keynote. And our calendar of upcoming guests is incredible. So not only is there going to be that 50th episode live from MVS, we've got great guests coming up after that, including folks like Alyssa Miller. I'll have Adam Belcher on and more. So check out magnetforensics.com/cash up for links to the RSS feed, the playlist, see previous episodes, and what's coming up. And just thank you so much all for your support. I'm going to kind of really miss doing this live. I'll still be in the chat. And I'll see you next week. Bye.